Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 12 of FTB Infinity Evolved Skyblock. Last episode we set up a nuclear reactor and it has run off camera until the fuel rods became depleted. So once the fuel rods run to completion, which is over the course of 10,000 seconds, approximately 3 hours, they turn into these quad fuel rod of depleted uranium. This is actually almost the main reason we're running the reactor. Now, yeah, while it's running, it produces 420 EU a tick, which is a lot of energy, at least at this point in the game. But it's really the depleted fuel rods we're after, because these can be processed once again in a thermal centrifuge to yield plutonium and some other stuff. You get some uranium back and some iron dust back, but neither of these are particularly interesting byproducts. It's really just the plutonium. All right. So now that we have this, let's take these out. You can't. Oh no, you can put them back in. Actually, let's leave these in the machine for a little bit because I want to set up an automated system that only withdraws these. So if you put just like a hopper on the machine, it can withdraw literally every component. You can use that if you want to like automate the replacing of damaged components, so you can run a reactor hotter by letting the components cool down, not in an active reactor, but that's way more trouble than it's worth. For now, I just want a system that will only withdraw depleted fuel rods and only insert full fuel rods. For filtered item transport, I love Ender IO conduits. And now that we are making stone dust as a byproduct of our ore washing plant, we can make the conduit binder for it. So I'm gonna save this recipe. That's the recipe for the conduit binder. And then I think there's a recipe for that compressed sawdust. Yeah, just literally compressing sawdust. Want the thermal version. Alright, and then now I can request conduit binder and then cook that up. Or I can request binder composite. Give me, can I do 1,000? Let's go 5 stacks. I think it cooks into like 4 stacks each, right? So once it's done crafting, it'll show up in here. I should upgrade all of those crafting pipes to Mark II, honestly. So I don't have to wait quite this long. Alright, first stack's enough. Did I ever upgrade our furnace? Nope, it's still a hardened tier furnace, so it'll be slow. You know what? No, don't use this furnace. Use this one. This one's faster. Yes. On a totally unrelated note, our item storage is almost full. We have like 2 rows of item slots left in all of our chests. I just went through them all. They're basically all full except that last one. So I think it's time that we upgraded our item storage a little bit. Now I could just expand it with more diamond chests and more of these modules. However, I think we could use some denser storage. So I propose that we use the RF Tools modular storage. Which, let's see if I can find it in here. The modular storage is very easy to craft, just takes a machine frame, but I have plenty of those resonant frames. And a storage module up to tier 3, which again is very cheap, quartz, gold quartz, whatever. And this holds up to 300 item stacks per, whereas each diamond chest holds, I think it's let's do some counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 by 9, 90 plus 108 stacks. Is that right? Yeah. So it's 108. It's basically triple the size. So yeah, I'm going to swap out all of our diamond chests for modular storages, I think. And because that involves a fair bit of crafting, I'll once again turn to auto crafting to do the heavy lifting for me. Could I please have 8 modular storages and 8 tier 3 storage modules? No, because I forgot to teach you how to make tier 1 storage modules. Let's try that again. 8 storage modules. There you go. And that should only take a minute to craft. Now, what I'll do is, again, I'll break out the dolly here. And I will, let's see, first so this is my import chest. Oh, you can't dolly an ender chest, apparently. I will dolly you away to here. Replace that with this. Apparently these don't stack. There we go. And then just drop this off to be emptied. And thankfully it extracts very, very quickly. At least until it's full. Does it not detect this as a storable inventory? Oh, it doesn't connect. Ah! Stop! Cut it out. I'm not sure which mod is at fault here, but I think the problem is that when you first place down a modular storage, when it has no storage module, it's not actually an inventory, so the pipe doesn't connect to it. Once you add the module to it, it becomes an inventory, but the pipe doesn't realize that, at least until it's, until you do something to update it. So if you place the module in the modular storage before putting it next to the pipe does connect to it, and suddenly everything works as intended. So hopefully this will not spew items everywhere. And instead it will actually, there we go, it puts items into the storage. You can set the items to be viewed as individual stacks so you can see all your items. But yeah, now I can swap all these out. Our storage has been consolidated, and now it's approximately 1/3 full. Plenty more room to store stuff, which is good because we're going to have plenty of stuff to store. All right, cool. Moving on then. I think our binder composite here should all be cooked up. Our conduit binder. Ended up using both furnaces because why not use both? Anyways, now that we have all this conduit binder, we can make actual conduits. Surprisingly, it only took 4 recipes to encode all the sub-recipes to the item conduit. Although this does assume that you have a lot of the components going into it, like the hardened glass, plates, Enderium, conduit binder. But all those are processing recipes, and I just dislike automating on-demand processing recipes with logistics pipes. So I avoid it if I can. Anyways, let's try ordering a few item conduits. I don't think I have all that much Enderium, so I probably can't order too much. Yeah, I'm way short on Enderium. Can I do 20? No. Alright, I need to make more Enderium. Let's go check our mob farm, see how many ender pearls are in it. If it's short on ender pearls, we might need to come up with an alternate ender pearl source. There's no Enderium or no resident ender in there. And in here, hello creepers, we have 50 pearls. That's a little bit. All said, basically each ender pearl produces 1 Enderium ingot, so we're going to need a lot more ender pearls than that. I have some pretty good ideas for ender pearl farms, but we're going to put that off until after we finish with our nuclear reactors. So anyways, once this is done pouring our ender pearls into actual ingots, we can make a small batch of item conduits. I'm also just crafting a significant batch of hardened glass so that I don't have to, craft it again for some time. I think I'm making, at least I have queued here, 12 stacks of hardened glass. Should last a while, although it'll never last as long as I wanted to. Anyways, let's see about making a full stack of these once again. 1 Enderium ingot short. There we go. I can request 63 item conduits. And here they come. Nice. Alright, I also need item filters, so I'm going to put those into the auto crafting. I'm going to store the fuel cells in a couple of drawers. One will hold the spent cells, so let's grab one and lock it here. Then we'll put it back in the reactor for automation purposes. And one will hold these full cells. So instead of putting it in a chest, because this is ever only going to hold a single item, it's a perfect application of a drawer. Lock that. Alright. Now I just need some way to automatically extract fresh cells, put them in the reactors, and automatically extract these depleted cells and put them back in the drawers. Here's something pretty cool and subtle that has changed in Ender IO between versions. Right now, if you place a item conduit, this is the default state it goes to. Extract green channel, active with signal. I believe this is how... This has not changed in version 1.12 of Ender IO. What has changed is what happens when you hit this button. In version 1.12, if you hit this button once, it goes to always active. That's typically the default state you want things in, but it's almost never the state you want when you place the pipe down, right? You very rarely want to place an item conduit and have it immediately just extract whatever the heck it wants. The fact that it defaults to active with signal is great. It means that you get time to configure it before it does work. Now here, if I left click it, it goes to active without signal. you actually have to left click it 3 times to get to always active, or right click it once. The cycle order has reversed between version 1.7 and 1.12. Basically, I think left click does what right click does here, and right click does what left click does. So when I first switched from Minecraft 1.7 to I think it switched in the like 1.8 or 1.10 update or something. But when I first switched, this change between like my muscle memory used to always be right click this button to switch it to always active. But yeah, that's not actually how it works anymore. It's supposed to be, or now it's left click the button to switch to always active. Where now, in modern versions, it's left click to switch to always active, whereas in previous versions, it's right click to switch to always active. A subtle thing that really messes with your muscle memory if you play a lot of Minecraft like I do. Anyways, I guess I don't need item filters here. I guess technically I don't need item filters anywhere, right? The drawers act as item filters. All right, so we will extract on the brown channel to get these cells, insert these cells on the blue channel, and then I just have to hook this actually up to the reactor. You can input into any reactor chamber, or if you don't have the maximum of chambers, you can go directly into the nuclear reactor itself. So I want to extract on blue. See, I did it again. I left clicked it instead of right clicked it. Always active. So we should see that the 7 depleted rods got sucked into here. And I also want in out. Insert on brown. Extract on blue. And now it'll fill it up with quad fuel rods. And this is what these platings are for. The platings stay put and let the automation, put nothing else there. Now, when you're setting this up, you have to make sure that your setup is filtered in some way. If, say, this were a chest instead of a drawer and I don't use filters, it'll happily pull out every single component here, and then it'll happily put fuel rods in every single component here, and 5 minutes later, your base will be a crater because you melted down your reactor because it was filled with fuel rods. And the size of the explosion is based on the amount of nuclear fuel inside. So if you have a reactor filled to the brim with nuclear fuel, it's going to be a big explosion. Anyways, this is the configuration for one reactor. I can copy it to the rest, but first I have to actually put the internal bits inside. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of crafting. Remember, it's like 1,000 plates, 1,000 plates per reactor, right? So I have about 3,000 plates to craft, and these I unfortunately have not pre-crafted. So yeah, I'm going to be busy for a while. Before I disappear and go crafting for the next 2 hours, though, I want to talk about the redstone options on the MFE here. The default is do nothing, and it's perfectly functional there. There's a couple others you can use. So on do nothing mode, it's just, the lever controls whether or not the reactor runs. There's a couple others that are perhaps interesting. You never want emit if full, because the reactor only runs when it has a redstone signal, right? So if emit is full, you'll only run the reactor when the MFE is full. But that's kind of opposite of what you want. So what you might want to use, if you want your reactor to produce energy, is emit if partially filled or empty. This way the reactor will only run while the MFE that it's charging it's not full. And in that case, you obviously don't want to power it with a lever either. So you can use emit if partially filled or empty if you want your MFE to, basically, if you want to run your reactor for energy and not byproducts. It'll automatically shut off when the energy bank is full. You probably never want to use do not output energy. Probably don't want that either. So yeah, it's basically between those two. Either nothing or emit if partially filled or empty. But right now I'm more interested in depleting fuel rods than I am in the energy, as evidenced by the fact that I haven't hooked it up to anything yet. Turns out I lied. Seems to happen a lot. I thought it used a bunch of copper plates, so I have 1,000 of them crafted. I have more crafting right now. I have a bunch in queue, and they actually craft rather quickly, one per second or so. No. Turns out most of that copper is not actually used in plate form. It's used in wire form. And our metal former making wires is glacially slow. So I think I might have reached the point where I am out of patience and I need to make overclocker upgrades. Honestly, these are something you have to make sooner or later anyways. They require a bit of work, but each one increases the speed of IC2 machines a fair bit. So, let's take a look at them now. Have I pinned them yet? Doesn't look like it. Overclocker upgrades are made quite simply with coolant and some more stuff, mostly copper, unfortunately, copper wire. So this is tin plates and coolant cells, which there's a recipe here for it. Somehow. Here it is. So you make the fluid cells, the coolant cells, by canning distilled water and mixing that with lapis dust. You can you can either use distilled water or regular water. Regular water uses 8 times as much lapis dust, but obviously skips the distilling process. Lapis, I mean, I'm swimming in lapis, right? In fact, I'm almost assuredly voiding lapis. Let's take a look. Yeah, I have the max 1000 lapis blocks that my drawer holds, so I'm voiding lapis. Well, crushing lapis into lapis dust also takes forever. I don't know. There's both these processes take forever, I guess, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, this is really the only step there is, but it takes a couple machines. You need a macerator to make lapis dust. You need to make these out of tin item casings. Yes, that's it. If you want to use distilled water, you have to distill water. Man, I'm really hyping this up, but it's not a lot of work. Regardless of which approach I take, it will have to macerate lapis. So, I'm pretty sure that was a macerator. I need to set these machines up in a way that I can actually see them. I've learned from the coal that it's it's faster to macerate blocks. So, here we go. It appears I've made yet another mistake. There's actually 2 types of fluid cells. There's a coolant cell and a universal fluid cell with IC2 coolant. You could see how I could be forgiven for thinking they were the same item. The coolant cell has to be made in either a bottler, a fluid transposer, or a fluid transporter with IC2 coolant, whereas the universal fluid cell with IC2 coolant is directly canned. So I set the system up to can IC2 coolant, and I cannot fill empty cells with it. I have to fill universal fluid cells. Again, you could see how I could be forgiven for this mistake. But anyways, these are actually a different... oh, wait, I'm in the wrong mode. Fill cell from tank mode. Oh, no, they can fill both cells. Never mind. So I think if you fill a universal fluid cell, you get the universal fluid cell of coolant. If you fill an empty cell, here, let's just try one and find out. So this gives us a universal fluid cell of coolant, whereas if I fill an empty cell, I think I get the coolant cell. So I guess the same machine, this machine can do both jobs. It just, depending on which cell you fill, yeah. So these are 2 different cells for 2 different jobs. I need some of each. The coolant cells are for making 10k coolant cells for overclockers. Does this make anything? In later versions of IC2, you can use this to directly make the like more overclockers at once, I believe. But I guess that's not a thing here. But anyway, it's a universal fluid cell with coolant. It's used to make... there's a few recipes that use it, but the one I'm interested in is the IC2 Jetpack. So, yeah, we're gonna... CF? What is a CF Jetpack? I don't know. But I think I want to try the IC2 Jetpack because I heard it flies very well. So I need some of both. But anyway, so what the system I've set up here is just one canning machine that's enriching water with lapis. So if I just grab some of this, and because I'm using, regular water, it takes 8 pieces of lapis per, but I figured less machines is better. And I guess this technically could all be done in one machine, but I personally find it easier to use one machine to turn one fluid into the other, and to use another machine to turn the coolant into, actually put the coolant into the cells. If you try to do it all in one machine, you need to input water cells, or input cells of some sort, and then if your cells ever run out, then it starts putting the output in the tank, and if there's output in the tank, it won't fill from the cells anymore. It's just much simpler to split it up into 2 machines. So I guess that's contrary to what I just said about using the least number of machines possible. Anyways, I want a chest to hold the output. Come on, crafting. Give me my chest. Aha! And now we are automatically crafting coolant cells. Automatically, as long as I manually provide both lapis dust and empty cells, which I'm also manually crafting. So it's like automatically with a star. With our first small batch of coolant cells done, let's see if I can request a small number of these. Doesn't know how to make 10k coolant cells. I literally just put that recipe in. There must be a slight difference between this item and this item. Probably somewhere in the BT data. If the recipe import doesn't work, so this recipe was just like clicked in from this, just craft one and then click the one you craft into there. Honestly, I have no clue what the difference between the two of them is. They don't appear to have MPT data, but who am I to question IC2 when it says their items are different? Let's try that again. Give me 6 overclockers, would you? There we go. See, fixed it. Don't know how, don't know why. Well, I do know how, by what I just did. But I don't know why that fixed it, but it did. Anyways, when you get overclockers, each one decreases processing time to 7%, but increases power usage to 160%, which increases the energy per operation by something like 20 or 30%. If you have a lot of them, for example, if you have 6 of them, processing time goes down to 11.7%, 11.8%. That's like 9 times faster, but it uses, more than 9 times the energy, right? It uses 17 times the energy. So I'm 100% sure if I just put all 6 in one machine, the machine will run out of energy. So here is our metal former making copper wire. See how slow it is? I put all of them in. I appear to be wrong with my 100% sure statement. I am no longer 100% sure that the machine will run out of energy. How much energy does a metal former use? A metal former by default uses 10 EU a tick. That max is a lie because I don't know why it's there. It's clearly right now. So it uses 10 by default. We're multiplying that by 16.7 times, right? So we're using, and we could just move the decimal point here, 167 EU a tick, or like 600 RF a tick, to produce these wires, and that number is way more than 32 EU a tick. So once again, we can ignore the fact that it's supposed to be 32 a tick. I think that's supposed to be like the voltage tier of the machine, and it's supposed to have to use voltage upgrades to give it more, but IC2 power net it's broken, so I don't know. Anyways, yeah, overclockers make IC2 machines fast. That's really the gist of it. It makes them very energy hungry. Like if I put these in the metal former making plates, it's about the same speed as the metal press, except the metal press uses what, like 40 or 60 RF a tick, whereas the metal bender for the same speed would use like 800. However, there is technically no cap at how many of these you can use. If I make more overclockers, say I make another 6, can I do that? If I request 5, I get 6. So they can, go here as well. Now I'm 100% sure we don't have the power for that, but it'll make this machine process stuff crazy fast. Just to prove my point, here they go. And yeah, so the machine actually in practice, well, I guess in practice, it runs about the same speed. But if I could give it full power, it would take 1.38% the time, taking a absolutely ridiculous amount of power, right? It would use 2,800 EU a tick, or like over 10,000 RF a tick. But if it was fully powered, it's probably fast enough that I suspect it completes a recipe in 3 ticks. So yeah, once you have a infinite or near enough infinite amount of energy, I love IC2 machines. They are lightning fast. But until you get there, you have to settle for using a moderate number of overclockers, which means the machines are only moderately fast. But you can put a moderate number of overclockers in a bunch of the machines, and quite quickly your bottleneck becomes well, if you use hoppers, the hoppers actually moving the items out, and not the machine itself. Thanks to our overclockers, crafting all of these components with their hundreds of plates and wires only took about 20-ish minutes. So, well, that's still a lot of basically waiting for machines. It's a lot less than it could have been. So for that, I am thankful. Anyways, each of these chests contains the materials for a single reactor. So I'm going to move each of these chests over. They're very slow because carrying chests on a dolly gives you the slowness debuff. I guess I could put it in my satchel to get rid of it. Would have been easier if I just made 3 dollies and did this, probably. Anyways, then I have to put all the components into the reactor manually, and you have to get every component right, because if you get just a single one wrong, I'm pretty sure the reactor will eventually explode. I filled the interior of these 3 reactors. As far as I can tell, I filled it correctly, but I guess we'll find out in a couple moments. I also hooked up their power output, so each reactor feeds into its own MFE, which all connects on a copper cable. Again, copper cable can transport effectively an infinite amount of EU, and that's converted into RF through MV wire connect, or no, these should be HV. Yeah, through through immersive engineering wires, which converts it to be transported into the logistics pipes network. So all that's left is to actually put the fuel inside. I made the conduit probe. This should be able to copy paste settings. Shift scroll to put it in copy mode. It doesn't turn orange in this version of Minecraft when it's in copy mode, but copy that pipe setting. And I'm going to do these. Well, I can paste the settings now, I guess, right? Paste the settings now, and we should see that filled fuel is now filling each of these. Good. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 per. Just do a quick sanity check. All right, these all look reasonable to me. So let's, I'll turn them on one by one so I can monitor them. Make sure the core temp doesn't, do anything unexpected. But now as it turns on, the energy output, starts outputting energy, which causes these power junctions to fill up, which should result in our power being able to be sent to all these machines. Because a lot of our processing machines, well, some of them anyways, were not running at full speed before because they were short on power, because we had saturated the kinesis pipe here. But in fact, yeah, this buffer's, it probably was empty until I turned that reactor on. But now, we can have multiple logistics RF power providers powering the network, as long as they're all properly hooked up with the energy transportation upgrades. So lots more laser beams now. This first reactor does not appear to be on its way to exploding, so I'll turn one more on. It seems our reactors are all stable and not about to explode. A very good thing. So with 4 of these set up, we produce 28 spent quad rods every 3 hours. That's actually a not terribly bad rate of fuel consumption. I think it's pretty close to the actual fuel output of one thermal centrifuge. So if I want to add more reactors, we have to overclock our thermal centrifuge. But right now we're basically consuming uranium ore at pretty darn close to the rate that we're producing it. I think we had like 7,000 pieces at the start of yesterday. We're down a little bit, which means we're consuming it slightly faster than Space Penguin here can sift it. So that's fine. At some point, I think our buffers are filling up, which is why the consumption's a little bit higher than the sustained average. In any event, that basically at this point concludes our IC2 nuclear expedition. It's almost entirely self-sustaining. I still have to actually make the iron plates that go into this by hand, and I guess a handful of copper plates. But that will be something that we can automate in an upcoming video. But for now, our energy production is producing, let's see, 4 by 420, or what is that, 1680 EU a tick, somewhere around 7,000 RF a tick, just from these 4 reactors, and they're producing precious plutonium. Well, they're producing precious fuel rods, which can pretty trivially be processed into plutonium. And because this process is trivial, I'm putting it off until I actually need the plutonium. To wrap things up for the day, let's craft the IC2 jetpack, because I made the fluid cell for it. So as soon as my items arrive, anytime now, logistics pipes. I should pre-craft some of these electric circuits because I use them so often, but whatever. Let's make this. We have to charge it, so that's what the MFE here can do, I believe. No? How do I charge it? Do you not use electricity? Whoopsies. Wrong jetpack. this is just a basic jetpack. I want a electric jetpack. So I actually have no clue what fuel this uses. But electric jetpack, if I had to guess, uses electricity. Really going out on a limb there for that one. There we go. So this charges that. It seems to not hold a lot of energy. Let's also grab a crystal. This is just an IC2 battery. So we could have this hold we can have this charge the jetpack in our inventory while we're using it. And from what I'm told, this jetpack has perfect hover, so that's quite convenient. And that's charged. I'll start charging up a crystal. All right, so if I put this on, well, here, let's put our hazmat suit away. I shouldn't be handling more nuclear fuel anymore, so it flies well, that's for sure. Does it negate fall damage? It looks like it does. Oh, just kidding. It doesn't. Definitely does not. But how do I turn on hover? A little weird, but you have to click your mode switch key while holding spacebar. And there we go. You can toggle between hover mode, enabled or disabled. It uses, I assume it constantly uses fuel while hovering. But I mean, hey, it's perfect hover. You have to get to the very top tier of the advanced jetpacks to get perfect hover, right? So I'm happy with it. Glad to have it. And then now that our energy crystal here should be charged, if you put this in your inventory, I believe you have to right click it to turn it on. Something like that. Never mind. A energy crystal cannot natively charge your gear. You need to make a charging energy crystal. Or there's the lower tiers too, but you have to craft through all the tiers to get here, and I don't feel like doing that right now. So we'll just recharge our jetpack periodically. The downside about hover mode is that it doesn't turn off when you land. So it's kind of like the Draconic Evolution armor where you can lock flight on, but it keeps using energy to hover. So it's like I'm just gonna run out of energy every couple minutes, which is a little annoying. I ended up biting the bullet to craft the charging crystal because of the hover mode behavior. So, I assume this just charges that. That's enabled. Charge items not in hand. Yeah. Hello? Charge, please. Does it only charge when I'm not wearing it? That's kind of not very useful, isn't it? As far as I can tell, and by reading the wiki, it just doesn't charge armor. It'll charge it while it's in your inventory. It charges it painfully slowly at that. I think it charges only hotbar too. Not even your entire inventory. And right now it's on enabled mode. So yeah, it's actually useless. I thought we were onto something here, but no, the IC2 jetpack is actually useless. Unless I'm overlooking something. If I am, do let me know, because I would love to use it and not have to craft the regular jetpacks, but I can't keep it charged. We can't use it. In any event, I think that's all I've got for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.